Good evening. How you doing?
Hello.
All right, guys.
Doing great, man.
Good.
All right. I'll just welcome everyone to the stream. This is the Vintage Collection Show on YouTube, and I'm going to welcome everybody in the chat in a second. But I just wanted to say a big thank you to my guests for the evening. To the left of me, your right, I have Chris from Bantha Skull. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing, everyone? Pleasure to be here as always.
Awesome. And then below me, I have Lewis, who is at Space Hut on Instagram and is a member of the SWTVC group. How you doing?
Hello. Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. And then no one needs an introduction down there. No, down there. We have Mr. John Miko, the king of TVC from the TVC Facebook group. How you doing, buddy? You all right?
What's up, guys? I was thinking about this earlier. I'm with Trandoshan Treasures, Tuna Skull, and I'm with Interstellar Hut. I was like, what could I be? I don't know what I could be. Oh, maybe the Miko-verse? I don't know. That's all I can think of. That's it. That's all I got. It has nothing to do with Star Wars, though.
Well, I appreciate you being here today, guys. Anyway, we're just rounding out the year, talk about the year in general, how it's been for TVC, and a bit of a look ahead to the future as well. I've got to apologize to everybody now that if I start coughing, it might go on for a bit and I'll have to go on mute because I do have this cough, which I cannot get rid of. So just beware. But I'm going to just say hello to some people in the chat because there is loads of people watching already. We've already got 100 people watching, which is awesome. So thank you so much for joining us. We have Star Wars Rue. Big fan of the channel, always comments on my videos, which is awesome. Collector 1970. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm not going to put them all up on screen because it takes too long. We'll just read some out. We've got Punisher XS, Danny Allen, Just Capster, Casey Wheeler, Riley Bob, Rocket City Sith. That's Brad, Top Man. Straight out Coruscant, Des T, Paul Morales, Martin Footer, Fractured Fett, John Lindquist from the SWTVC. Good to see you here, buddy. Dennis Porbsky, the Jedi Collector, Maxime, 88 UK, Toys of the Jedi. How you doing, Chris? Connor, Mando Brunt, TVC Macken, Phil the Force. Lots of my Patreon supporters and channel members here, which is awesome. Universal Toy Collector, Brett on Fett, Saki Score 76, Jared Cantor. Yeah, you made it, buddy. GA, SWTVC, which might be Tyler.
Yeah,
or it could be Evan.
Tyler. No, Evan's on there as well, I think, somewhere.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
UK Star Wars Toy Mania. Hi, Dave. How you doing? Ovi Ban Kenobi, Mary Sullivan, Rob Chewbacca Toys. Who's Scruffy Looking 80? I love some of these names.
Yeah.
Mile Hard Ground. Yep. How you doing, Evan? Good to see you, buddy. Toys of the Way. Great channel. Daniel Chart. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, pal. Who else do we have? We have Lil Pookie, Randy S, Adam Berry, Dan Tueen. That's a good name. Smuggler's Canyon. We'll have to get Smuggler's Canyon on again when we do the bracket, like just for the comedic value. He's a good lad. Good lad. Andre Harcheng, the Strap 1983, Darth Wizzy Wizard. Oh, the PGM show. I'm gonna have to stop there, guys, because we want to get on with talking. It's just I could go all day just listing people, but I do really appreciate you all being here. So thank you so much. And just quickly, Lack Sivrat, Top Man, and the middle-aged Kiwi man. Good to see you here, pal. I wonder what time it is over there at the moment. Probably 6 in the morning or something. He's in the future. All right, so cheers for being here with me, guys. Really appreciate it. I haven't done one of these for ages. I really need to sort of get my finger out and do more of these, but sometimes I just think like there needs to be stuff to talk about. And it obviously being the end of the year, there's loads to talk about. But before we sort of look back on the year, I haven't talked to you for ages, so I did want to just talk about sort of the most recent reveals. Just get your thoughts on particularly the Endor bunker and the ATST, and then just in general the sort of 40th anniversary stuff for next year. So we'll start with Lewis, because I know you're Lewis. For anyone that out there that doesn't know, you're heavy into photography and stuff. Do you collect any carded stuff at all? Are you bothered about that at all? Or
I
is it just
literally have up above me, which you can't see, is all my Stormtrooper collection. That's anything Stormtrooper I keep carded, obviously,
Right.
and open. I've got quite a few open as well, but yeah, other than Stormtroopers, I open everything really. I mean, why keep it on a card is the way I see it. So yeah, and for me, I think I changed the way I collect quite a lot. I started out years ago, Power of the Force 2 days, I collected everything and kept it on a card. And then I got to a point in my life when I just thought, I'm keeping a whole carded collection in a box. It was all stored away. I just want to get them out and do something with them. And I don't regret opening them. I just opened them, started doing toy photography only a few years ago, really, on Instagram. And really, for me, that's how I enjoy collecting now.
Yeah, no, your photography is awesome. Yeah, so
Thank you.
are you happy with the because the bunker is, whenever these things get revealed, I always feel like there's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction immediately, and then once it's been out and people have had a good look at it, people change their minds. Are you quite happy with that release?
I like it. I mean, I've always thought the Power of the Force 2-1 was okay. It kind of did a job, but it was never quite proportioned right and never quite the right size. And so I think this one's a good upgrade in that it is a bit bigger, and it is, you can see the difference in shape. It's less like that, and it's more sort of shaped, isn't it? So I think, there's been a lot of criticisms about putting something internal or something on the other side. But for me, it will sit really nicely on a shelf up against the wall. And I think it will be perfect in a display. So I think the only perhaps criticism I've got is the moss, where they've put the moss on it. I don't dislike that, but I think it might have been nice if it was removable, or, you could adapt it in some way, because I think that might be limiting from a photography point of view anyway. But no, otherwise, I think in all, I like it. I think it's a good upgrade on the one we had.
Yeah, because I personally think that with something like that, if you start giving it an interior and all this kind of stuff, then the price starts going way too high for that particular item, that you kind of only really want to see it from the front. Me personally, anyway. As you say, perfect for the shelf. Chris, what about you? Are you? Obviously you've got a nice little space behind you there for your Endor stuff. So I'm guessing you'll be quite happy with it.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that it's coming. And first of all, I just want to echo that point of it being shelf installable. That's important. If it had once you get depth on these things, you really pigeonhole where it can go in a display. So I like that it's shelf installable, even though in my case, where it's going right over there where that shuttle is where it's going to go. I do have the depth, but I also don't think that, people react almost in like isolation, like, oh, it's just the bunker, but they're not seeing it. When you get that speeder bike and just the pose they have with the biker scout leaning on the bike right in front of that bunker, maybe go to a hobby shop and get some trees and, it's going to look incredible just to, really build. I can't wait to set it up, and then I'll get my Ewoks out again. They're back there in the bin. I'll finally get my Ewoks out and have the whole Endor thing set up. I can't wait for it.
Yeah. And to go with that, we've also got the ATST, and this is to you, John, because I know John, both you were the same as me. We both really wanted that card, Chewie carded because of that that card back that we just need in the line. But then, as like, and I said it in my video of the reveals, like, why? But like, when you start thinking about it a bit more, I think that, okay, the Chewie needs updating. I think everybody knows that. But at the end of the day, this ATST might not be for the people that have already got it, essentially. I mean, it is, it's painted a little bit better or whatever. If you put the Chewie in there carded, then I think you're just going to get as many people moaning, saying you're putting in a figure carded just to make me buy the ATST. So I'm buying a $90 figure, essentially. So
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
You're gonna buy it anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy it anyway, Tuna. And Tuna.
Yeah, but I'd have to buy two.
Chris,
I only have to buy one.
Okay. All right. I think what hurt was seeing the Black Series one
Yeah.
on the card. And so I think that was part of it. The price tag hurt as well. $90 for that. You know, and with that, it's like, why don't we just throw in a couple Ewoks? You know, throw in a couple repainted Ewoks, maybe some partial tooling for the headdress. Who knows? But I think it's hard to put that price on that the way it is, and people be satisfied with that. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of people waiting for that to go on sale or even lower. And I think that's only a fan channel.
It is, yeah.
So
That's why, isn't it?
the
Yeah.
paint apps look great, and you know it's going to be a fine addition to anyone's collection, but the price hurts.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, maybe what they should have done is as you say, maybe stuck a couple of Ewoks in there. Maybe the two that drive it, basically loose, you know.
Yeah.
And then Chewie, as you know, they're repacking all of these skiff guards and what have you. Put Chewie on that card back, but again, you know, they can't win because people will say, "Well, you're just releasing a Chewie that's God knows how old," you know. So first and foremost, maybe they need to update Chewie, and maybe then stick him on that 40th anniversary card back, you know.
One thing that John needs to bring up, and he knows this, we like to simplify and say just stick a couple Ewoks in. But John knows this, and he's spoken about before. It all seems simple from our end, but from Hasbro's end, the tooling from the Ewoks might be halfway across China.
Yeah.
You know, you have to get all these things to the same factory to pack it. So it seems simple to us, but understand that there's logistical hurdles that they have to get over to get, jump over to do those things.
This is what I like about you, Chris. You always ground me. You know, I'm like, give me this, give me this, give me this. I want this, I want this. Why can't they do this? Why can't they do that? And then you give me a simple reaon why it might not be possible.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? The voice of reason.
I've actually passed at the moment on that AST. I'd be honest with you, ATST, should I say? I don't pass on anything really. I bought the Slave One that people moaned about. I generally pick up most things, but I've got so many of those, and I just don't see anything there that I feel that I need. I may well cave and buy one anyway. Tyler very nearly talked me into it the other week. But I think, I don't know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing it's coming out. I'm not moaning that it's coming out because I think there are a lot of people that haven't got it. And I think it sits very well with all this other stuff that's coming out for Return of the Jedi. And that's a good thing for new collectors as well. It gives more potential for people to jump in at this point because people can say, look, there's a bunker, you know, you've got an ATST, you've got, speeder bikes, you've got some of this other stuff in and around that all of a sudden you can world build very quickly. And I think that for new collectors, that could be a really good jumping on point. So it's good.
That's a great point, Lewis. And it's something I think we, like the people that have been around from the beginning, lose sight of. I think we're the exception. The people that have been here since 95 that collected TV. I think most of the people buying TVC now have picked it up probably since 2018. And the reason I'm saying this is just if you look around any community that's been around for a long time, the number of people that are gone is bigger than the number of people that are still there actively engaged in the community.
Yeah.
And one thing about people in this hobby, for whatever reason, when they off ramp, they're gone. They don't see it. There's exceptions. Some people come back, but for the most part, once they off ramp, they're gone. So I think the people buying it now, most of them are people that, weren't buying it back in even 2010, 2011, 2012. And they need access to these things. And plus, so Lewis, once you see the upgraded paint apps, you're going to get it anyway. So I'm not worried.
Yeah, I probably will. Yeah.
But the idea is you want more people coming in that you're letting go, aren't you? So it's that balance, isn't it? Of like trying to sort of, there's a lot of people going, I want something new. Give me something new. And there, one would say that some of the films, there isn't a lot left to do, except for, look at Chewie, we think he needs updating. If you look at that figure, it isn't actually that bad. It looks a pretty decent Chewie compared to, like, say, Endor Leia, which desperately needed updating, if you just compare the two. But, I think there's, people are also right to ask for new stuff, and that there is that balance between the two. And when something gets revealed, people just have to think to themselves, that isn't for me. That's for somebody that's come in later. I've already got it from back then, whatever. That's not for me, because you don't have to buy everything. You know, I tend to buy everything more for a review point of view as well, because I run a channel. I'm, you know, my case is slightly different, same as you maybe, Chris, as well, because obviously you run the, you know, you review everything on your site as well, good or bad. People often say to me, like, why'd you buy that? It's a load of rubbish. Well, because I don't really want to buy everything that's great, and then my channel is like, this is great, this is great. I've got to get stuff and say, well, this isn't so great, you know. And then people might say, well, I'm not going to buy it because you said it's crap. Sorry.
Before we move
you know,
on,
like a lot of people are saying that they, you know, because they've seen my video about the speeder bike, they're not happy, you know, but they might have that 2012 version. So why would they want the new one, you know? And that's fine. Do you know what I mean? But there's other people, as you said, Chris, when I first got that 2012 one, it wasn't available over here in the UK at all.
Right.
It was an exclusive to the US. So had I not bought that one, I think I got mine from Australia on eBay. Had I not done that, then I would have, you know, jumped at the chance of this speeder bike. So
I just wanted, before we move on, Chet Osterman asked if they had fixed the leg joint issues, and Chris Reif on a video on the Hasbro Pulse channel, when he showed the ATSD, he said that the leg joints, the flimsiness of them has been addressed. So hopefully it is corrected when it comes out.
They tighten the screws for you.
I think he used those words, didn't he? He said we've tightened it up a bit, which makes you wonder what they've actually done. But yeah, we'll see.
I got the Raider one for the Mandalorian, and that, you know, that was it was hard to make it stand how you wanted to.
Really?
I know Tyler did the video on Instagram recently to you know, have it sort of standing up. Yeah, mine was just so top heavy, and the legs just were so, as I say, the joints definitely needed tightening up, because the head was just so top heavy it would fall. I know Tyler has his like really high up, but you know, yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing Chris go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and asking for little trees and making sure they find them the trees to scale. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm going to hold you to that.
Nope, there's a hobby store right down the road from me. A real hobby store.
Oh, there you go.
I might buy a model Choo Choo too and have that going around.
Well, we need an Ewok village, don't we? That's what we need. So come on, Hasbro. Give us an Ewok village. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
So Chris won't be able to fit it in that space back there, so you'll have to rip that unit out and start again.
Yeah. Seasonal. Make it a seasonal.
Oh yeah.
So that's so in terms of, that's the bunker and the, you know, the ATST and what have you. What do we think about like the 40th anniversary in general? Like how much do you think we've seen of what we will be getting next year? Because I think we've seen quite a lot of it already. Some of you guys might be in the know. I don't know, but like just in general, do you think, because the year hasn't even started yet, some of it's in hand of certain people, and a lot of it's already been a lot of it has been revealed. So what do you guys think, Chris?
So we should do a recap, right? So we have the ones we mentioned: the ATST, the speeder bike, the bunker. We got Vader with the helmet reveal. We got Endor Han. We've got Admiral Piet and Moff Jerjerrod. So that is a lot for considering how relatively small TVC is per year. So I think we got
four repacks of the goons.
Right. Yeah.
And Weequay. Yeah.
And you're right. And thank God for Woof getting back out there. It's one of the ones I don't have two of for the Palace and the Barge. So I need another one of those.
Great.
But I think it was probably a little bit more coming, but that is quite a little bit for already. Like, so to your point, you know, for how small annual footprint is, we know a lot of it, I think.
Yeah.
I think what's been tough is a lot of this stuff, I think, has been pipelined since July. And we're still waiting to just see more of it, right? That was pipelined. Some of that stuff is being revealed on card backs like Piet before we could even see them by Hasbro. And I don't know, for me, that's one thing I think that could be improved is showing us some of this stuff sooner after it's pipelined, if possible. It just seems like some of that stuff could have been in there. I know in the past, one of the issues with them is they had so many events and they had to spread everything out amongst those events, and they had to wait for those events to transpire. So it just seems like things are getting in distributor or whoever's hands before they can reveal it. And it's like, man, I just want to see the figure, please.
Yeah, it's almost just like being more about aware of, like, I don't know. They must know when these things are leaving factories and what have you. I mean, I'm sure they didn't expect the bunker to arrive in LA or wherever it is at the moment, at that toy hideout place. How's he got hold of that sort of thing, And obviously then the speeder bikes turned up in various different places, so I grabbed one of those. I'd love to get the bunker as soon as possible, really. But yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it, that the figures are on the back, and then because that Piet from the one picture that we've got looks pretty solid to me. It looks pretty decent. So
yeah, people are excited about no upper mid torso joint there, and again, it's just we've been waiting since July. Come on. So and all we've seen is the repacks, right? And then the bunker and that, which again they have what do you call it, done YouTube videos and fully revealed. But it would be great to see some of the stuff that's been pipelined already.
So Tyler's just put here, it looks solid except for the wrong rank badge size. So has it? Is that the case then? Has he been able to zoom in?
Well, what it is? Well, John had it confirmed, didn't he, with Emily? But the rank badge is correct to Return of the Jedi, so it's correct to the film, but it's not correct. Or is it the other way around? Is it correct to the Empire? I can't remember which it is. No, it's correct to the movie, to Return of the Jedi, but he has a different rank badge. In terms of his rank, it should be different, but they got it wrong in the film. So it's Hasbro are kind of being correct to the source information, but obviously to Tyler, he can't handle that because it's the wrong rank. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I get it, but it's correct to the source material, isn't it? So what can they do?
Yeah, I love
Tyler needs to go get the Power of the Force 2 one, because that was Captain Piet, but it has the Admiral rank badge on it. So they got it covered between the two figures.
And how do you feel about that, Chris? Like, I know you've always said, hey, we should fix the mistakes that Kenner had made, or Hasbro should. But how do you feel about when the movie made a mistake?
Follow the movie. Follow the movie. The mistakes, all the mistakes I've said are making it more accurate to what's on screen, So I say follow the movie.
Well, we've got two hands, didn't we? With Ponda Baba, we got the the closed hands and the fingers because they couldn't make their mind up which one it should be. So perhaps give them a removable badge.
But both were in the movie with the hands, so that's right. Both versions were in the movie.
Yeah. So Nick the Basics, Piet has Captain badge first in The Empire Strikes Back, changes following his promotion to Admiral. Yeah, but then I think what we're saying is in The Return of the Jedi, everyone, all of the offers, regardless of their rank, have the same rank badge. Is that right? From like a costume error or something. Is that right?
Yeah,
I think
something
so.
along those lines. Yeah,
it's
actually confusing because there's so many different things going on with them.
So that means when we get the Moff Jajerod figure, that will have the same rank badge as the Piet figure, most likely.
This is the worry because Tyler thinks he's then going to get a Grand Admiral Thrawn that's actually a Captain Thrawn or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. This is where I guess it's how far they can adapt the tooling, I guess, isn't it?
Tyler's going to have an aneurysm or something.
Therapy. Therapy.
Yeah, I've never heard him complain about the cargo pockets on the Biff band members, but he's upset about this.
You heard me complain about that.
I read your article today, Chris, and
Yeah.
you're not particularly happy with those either, are you? While the Black Series get a brand new, fully newly tooled figure. Yeah.
I know people were, picking on you and me, Tim, for being, grumpy old men on the last Q&A.
Yeah.
But it was so many insults, one after the other, that, and it was the first time where the gloves were off, where we could ask anything we wanted to finally, come back with, people might not know. And it wasn't anything, nefarious or anything like that. They always try to keep us scoping the questions to the most recent live stream.
Yeah.
So you're kind of hamstrung. And then they said, no, just whatever, Patrick actually said he wants the hard questions so we can address them. So, people, say we were the grumpy old men, but it was so many insults. Like the one that it still burns me is they said, from the ground up, newly tooled for the Black Series so many times on that live stream where they revealed all the Inquisitors. They said it so many times that Jing and Patrick had a joke saying like, "Oh, you say from the ground up, and I'll say from the head down," because they had to mix up the expression, because they were saying that so many times from the Black Series and then the Vintage Collection. Here's a repack. Oh, here's a new head. We costed a new head on this repack. Here's some new ankles on the speeder bike, and then just seeing them get the all new tooling on the Biff band member was the final dagger on that. So hopefully that explains a little bit of the grumpy old men routine on that Q&A.
Well, yeah, we can't win on those things anyway, really, because you either give them an easy ride or a hard,
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't get a decent answer anyway. So I think I much preferred like interviewing them in person. I think you just there's just a bit more to and fro, really, a bit more candid with it,
The best was Sam Smith. If you interviewed him in person, it was such a great interview when he was on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at Toy Fair in New York when other people were interviewing him, and I was just too scared. And
Really?
didn't realize you had to book a slot. So I just stood there pretending I knew what I was talking about.
John, should I tell my story about the Han and Carbonite?
Absolutely.
Go for it.
So Sam's no longer on the team, but he was as much a stickler for details as any fan. Like, when you'd say, "Hey, put a holster on VC 140 and call it OT," he'd be like, no. Here's all the differences that need to be done to the sculpt to make it OT accurate. He had that much attention to detail. And I didn't know this at the time. So when I saw them, so this was in Toy Fair 2020, when they showed the Jabba's Palace, play set, the adventure set, and they put that Han Carbonite on an episode 6 card with the shirt untucked. Well, that's not that's not episode 6, because apparently by the time he went down in the carbon freeze chamber, he tucked his shirt in, and then we thaws in episode 6. It's tucked in. So I said it to Patrick and Joe, hopefully I pronounced this correct, Joe Ninaviagi at the time. I said, that's not episode 6 accurate. That's an episode 5 figure. And they went, "Oh, tell Sam, Sam, you got some customer feedback." And Sam was all smiles. He's like, "Yes." And I said, "That Han Solo is not episode 6 accurate." And his face went to stone. He just went, "I know." So I'm sure he was. In fact, I actually now later on know he was saying that up front. It's like, you're going to get me killed when I face the public putting this on an episode 6 card. So he's well aware of it in advance.
You are right though because I remember being at Toy Fair and somebody asking about the Stormtrooper, and I was standing behind them while he was talking about it, and he was very meticulous in the different versions of the Stormtrooper's armor and things on the belly, on the torso, lower torso, and all that kind of stuff. But you had that as your figure of the year, Chris, right?
Yes. Yeah. Just for the. I got to look at, like the holistically everything. It's just because it's the ultimate army builder. You need a bunch of them, and it's a figure that they can, crank out in perpetuity now. They can just have this thing going every year if they want to. And to me, that makes it. Are there individual figures that are better as far as an action figure goes? yeah, I think the Clone Wars Mandalorians and certainly the Dark Times Darth Vader are better engineered action figures, but for overall use, what it means to your collection, to me, that's the figure of the year.
And it's on the right card as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
right.
Sorry, John.
No, go ahead. What'd you say, Lewis?
I was going to say it's on the right card as well. The New Hope card
finally.
is just that definitive card. It had
Star
to go
Wars
on that.
Chase, yeah.
I was being the whiny collector saying, but he doesn't have updated barbell hips. Some people never happy.
Well, no, we aren't ever happy though. That's the
Yeah.
thing, everyone's got their own opinions and what have you. And I'm just going to bring this up here. Thank you, Jonas Z. Hi all, greetings from Sweden, and I wish you all a happy new year. Happy New Year to you, buddy, and thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that.
Drink to that.
Yeah. So in terms of the 40th anniversary, then we think we've seen most of it. The Endor thing's kind of almost covered. I mean, I would like to see like a Rebel Commando 4-pack or something, or like an Ewok 4-pack, just something to say, look, you've got the bunker, you've got the speeder bike, you've got the ATST. Now here's some other figures to fill it out in. Even like a Lumat would have been a good re-release as well. Seeing as they like re-releasing these figures, because especially instead of like Yak Face, for example, Salt Murray or whatever, why are they re-releasing him? I'll never know. Whereas Lumat, to get a Lumat's like $100 easy, I would say, on the secondary market. I need that guy loose, that Ewok loose out of. I think I've got all of the others. And then maybe just like if you want to repaint Paplu a couple of times, stripy ones or what, just give you a mixture of whatever, just to sort of complete that, enhance that sort of scene even more. That's what I'd like to see anyway.
If you did those, an army building set that was a little bit like the Toys R Us one they did years ago that had the swappable, hoods and accessories, then in theory you could buy more than one of those sets and make multiple Ewoks anyway. It depends how they coloured them. But I mean, there is scope there to make them good army building sets out of those. So yeah, why not? It doesn't all have to be troopers, does it?
No. And then regarding the troopers, the thing is that worries me a little bit about the Rebel Commandos, that they are a little bit dated, just like those Echo based soldiers that we've got. They've got the swivel hips, and again, people will be like, well, I really wanted you to update that figure before you re-released it or whatever. So what about you, John? Anything that you'd like them to see them do from Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, couple goons, couple Jabba goons, please. Hey, like that's why we're in the shirt, right? We have that coming up. I know a lot of us love that movie. I know, Chris, we've talked about this, right? It's the most toyetic movie in the whole trilogy. But I'd love to complete that skiff with Velkin. I'm looking over at mine here. I'd love to see just some more palace guards. I know Chris and them have had articles up for years for the missing in action. And what's the other one? Seen It. And
yeah, Seen It.
They just go into it and obviously highlight, at least make some of those figures that interacted with our protagonists there. And whether that's what do we got? We got the mercenary pilot on the second skiff. I mean, so many would be awesome. We got Tam Drengarin. We've got, who else do we have? There's so many, updated Kenner figures as well. Squidhead, there it is. Squidhead, just so many of them would be nice. And even some of those reissues that we've all been asking for a long time from the Legacy Collection, which may or may not exist anymore. Blue Skirt Weequay.
In response to Darth Eddie.
I was hoping you'd have that.
Yeah,
my present from John, if anybody didn't know.
Has he covered himself up now? Is he still exposed?
So
partially covered.
for anyone that's watching that doesn't know what this is, Chris, do you want to tell everyone what it is? And hold. Let me.
Yeah, zoom in on him. Yeah.
How do I do that?
Actually, I'll leave it in the clamshell because we'll present better.
So yeah, so Chris turned the big 5-0 a couple weeks ago. So
Try to get it a little close. I can't avoid.
And from what I understand, this is one of your favorite or your must-have, like the goon you want most, right? Or one of.
Yeah, I'm not going to rank them because I want them all. But of course, this is up here. I mean, he's on the barge. He's in the palace. You know, so you got to have him. And I always gravitate towards the ones that, you know, when you're a kid, you know, especially, you know, I don't know how old everyone else is, but, you know, I didn't have the pausable VCR copies for a while. We had the 2-head VCRs and you'd pause it and it'd be blurry. So I always wanted the characters that you could actually see. You didn't have to pause. You didn't have to do anything. And Fozek is definitely one of them. He stands out, and, you know, he's front and center in a lot of scenes. I actually, I never really saw Ifant Mon, you know, for years, but, you know, Fozek, even Yakface, he's pretty obvious in the movie, but I still didn't see him for years. But Fozek was one I've always, you know, even as a kid, right away I saw him, like, oh, I want to figure that. And finally have one courtesy of my good friend Johnny over there.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is awesome. I'm
sorry,
I couldn't work out how to make you laugh on screen.
It gives Hasbro something to aim at, doesn't it? If they got to get the same number now.
That's right. Yeah. And you know, shout out to some of the people in the customizer community, because literally Chad Peak and Chris Hermans, Chad actually sculpted digitally using the software that Hasbro uses, ZBrush, to make his pauldrons, his forearm bashers. And I never realized Fozek had a trident, like force pike. And he just killed it. It's like he had, like he knew the specs of the trident. I mean, you know, if anyone follows me on Instagram at the Far Side of Endor, I put some detailed pictures. But, you know, again, it would not be possible. And Evergrey, just a shout out to Evergrey. If people are from
did he do the portrait, John?
He did the torso, face, and helmet, and I painted that. And for these guys who paint faces this small, I don't know how they do it, because I think I spent a few hours alone doing one eye. I had to make it over and over and over. I was joking with my wife. My wife at one point was like, "When are you going to be done with this thing?" I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, I had a great time making. Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that, the trident.
Yeah. Again, he just put so much detail into that, and we were like freezing video frames and like sending them to each other. So shout out to Chad. But you know, that took a few figures to make too. He took Skiffguard Lando, Vidane. It has what's his name from the comic packs from Heir to the Empire?
Talon Karrde.
Yeah, Talon Karrde's arms. So it's like, gotta find this guy. So like, yeah, and then, you know, some sculpting for knee pads and stuff like that. I had a lot of fun doing it. But and then on Etsy, Kenner by King, worked with him on that card back, and you know, he does a lot of Kenner card backs. But I know he has some modern ones out there, but worked with him, and he actually took some photos from Bantha Skull's website so we could do the back of the card and really copy the you know, the loose portrait, or not portrait, but full body shots on the back. So we put a few of we put Luke and a bunch of skiff guards on there, large guards, and then I took a photo of my Kenner, or I'm sorry, my custom Fozek for his actual little picture there. So a lot of fun with that. And
what's awesome is this clamshell. So the bubble is in the clamshell. So you have a loose figure on the card, so you can display it. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly.
Take it off, because this is going in the palace. There's no question about that. My palace display, but I still have the card. And if I ever want to display it, I just put it back in the clamshell and have the card to display.
And of course, Lewis and John from the Vintage Concepts had me thinking, like, were his nipples ever showing? apparently Evergrey really wanted to have his nipples in the sculpt. So, you know, shout
Tribute
out
to Joel Schumacher.
So shout out to Jesper there. Great, amazing sculptor. So,
See you later.
Anyway.
So
nice
did you make yourself one as well, John?
Yeah. And thankfully, John Evergrey, he painted my torso and head and helmet, so I didn't have to labor over that. But again, shout out to the guys who were able to make me another cast of that and put that together for Chris. So lots of fun right now. You know, if I can steal, I just made this guy, red pants guy. He would be great. So this is red pants guy. He's right there with Klaatu coming at Luke, and then, you know, Luke like kills one of them and he runs away. So I did a custom of that guy here.
Yeah.
So pretty excited to that. I've been doing a lot of customizing this winter since it's a little easier during the winter without all the outdoor activities. But I'd love to see just more of these guys. I know it's hard when they don't have a name and they got very limited screen time, but I'd be perfectly happy with every figure of next year being Return of the Jedi. I'm sure many of us would.
Well, actually, that's quite a good segue, actually, John, to move on from Return of the Jedi, because I just want to quickly go over some of the other reveals that we've had recently. Most notably, the Boba Fett repaints. Man, what is going on with those? Like, what's going on with the price of those? I don't get this at all. Like the comic pack. What is he called? The vintage comic version. It's got like no paint on it. It's like it's almost just the cast of the figure. I just can't believe. And they reveal it on the same day as like one of the Colt or Havoc or whichever one it was, which is like $5 less. It's an exclusive. It's a repaint. It's probably got more paint apps. What's going on there? Is it Boba Fett tax? Lewis, is it Boba Fett tax?
That's a good question. I mean, we spoke about this the other week, actually. I mean, people have been talking about price hikes for a long while, and, you know, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we'll take extra price if the quality gets better, and I'll happily pay more." But a lot of people were talking about this $20 as being perhaps a bit of a capping point where they don't want to pay more. So we're now busting through that. So it's interesting to see if people are going to actually stick to what they're saying or whether they're just going to buy them anyway. I mean, for me, I don't know. I'm guilty. I'll be honest. I don't look at prices much when I'm buying figures. I'm guilty of that. And I don't mean to say it because I've got loads of money or, you know, because of I'm stupid more than anything. But no, I mean, really, I go back to what I was saying before is that I still feel holes in my collection now, and I'll go and pick up something for 40, 50 quid, you know, because that's what they go for. And you don't look at a figure like that and think that's not worth that much. I would have loved to have got it when it was 10, 12 quid or whatever it was, you know, back in the day. But so I think I'm not saying people should go out and buy it. You know, it's up to people if they want to spend that money or not. Me personally, I like the look of them and I'll pay it. I don't need multiples of them though. So where some figures, you know, I mean, a Dark Trooper was pretty expensive. I think I picked up 8 of those. And again, it's, you know, you don't have to pick up 8 of those. I've chosen to, but you can choose to buy them or choose not to buy them. But I think it's damaging to the line if too many people are jumping off and saying that's too expensive, I'm not going to buy it. That could be damaging.
That worries me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to those, when they did the Kenner one, I was like, yes, like this looks cool. That's for me a good release. I think the Black Series one went down quite well. I think that was like that's quite hard to get hold of as well. And then the comic ones got revealed. I just think maybe one of them would have done. Like, I didn't need 2 of those really. Like the vintage one, I like the card back of that because I think it's Star Wars 42. It's Fett's first appearance in comics and what have you. a nod to that. But then when I realized that there was actually two different ones, I was like, I just don't need two of them, basically. Are you going to be getting them, Chris?
Yeah, I love them. I absolutely love them. my only gripe is, to me, it's really a carded collectible.
Yeah,
I want to, I think we've chatted about this privately. I'd love to get, a nice graded copy of Star Wars 42 and put that to me, that would look like just a really cool display, putting those back to back. So at that price, I would have loved the clamshell, because I have no shot at getting Target exclusives. I can never get a good card of them, because the mailed ones are banged up, and my store, for whatever reason, gets them, but they never put them out. Never put them out. It's in stock. I do it for store pickup. Oh, we can't find it. And go through it. I've been through this with the last 3 or 4 exclusives that they've done this. So that's the thing that upsets me. I'm not upset about the price. I don't. John and I actually get into heated arguments sometimes. I don't believe in the FET tax or any of these prices. I don't believe in that.
It's real.
No, that's not how.
It's almost more of an exclusive tax, though, isn't it? I mean, it's not just fair; it's the exclusives that seem to get hit with the extra money.
Yeah, but then the Havoc or the Colt, they're $18.99. So I know it's a different store, but
different store. It's a different figure. It's a different sculpt. I think there's something we don't know. I think there's something we don't know about that sculpt that makes it particularly expensive.
$12.99. This was $12.99.
Cherish it, because it ain't coming back. But I don't believe in the FET tax, because that's just, it's not that assumes TVC is this wildly popular, wild success. It's not. It's a niche little product. So if you try to play pricing games, you're just going to drive people away. So if they're pricing it this way, there's a reason. We probably don't know what it is. That's my belief. It's it's not. These aren't like Rolex watches where everybody in the world wants them, so they can charge 5 times what they're worth. Sorry, I don't know if Rolex is a little, for you UK guys, I don't know if that's a little sensitive subject, but you can't get away with OT. There's not enough customers. It's still not a huge customer base, so you can't play these games. I don't think you can play pricing games.
What gets to me is when something is priced high, though, and it's not accurate or it's not right. That's when I think it starts to grind. I mean, the Cassian in the Imperial disguise, for example, it's his boots are just so wrong, and when prices are going up the way they are, you expect the quality, at least the accuracy of the figure, to go up with it. And I think that's where I start to struggle with it.
They seem to do that a lot lately with TVC, is some shortcuts.
But like John, you that FET that you've got there, right? You said $12.99, right? Now, my guess is that figure would have cost a lot to make, because it's got all the articulation you need. It's got a serious amount of paint apps, which they always sort of talk about as being an expensive thing, and I can imagine it would be. So what are we saying? Are we saying that they didn't make enough money off the first run of that they've obviously, we know they repaint things to because that's just the way it is. All toy lines do that, right?
Right.
But are we saying that they're putting the price up of these to cover the cost of the original thing, or what? Or is it just literally I don't know. It's hard not to think that it's a cash grab, and they just think they'll buy it. It's Boba Fett, they'll buy it.
I know with this one, right, it was in an assortment, and there was some other figures in there that were repacked, right, help cost the assortment out and help his price. But I don't know, a lot of things are going up, right? I mean, the Indiana Jones retro figures are $14.99, or the Indiana's $14.99. So I don't know, but it's tough to call a repaint. What was it? $20.99 here? Was it $20.99? I forget. $22.99.
$22.99.
Excuse me.
One thing to just keep in mind, though, is just because they priced that FET at $12.99 doesn't mean they were right. Sometimes they price things and say, "Oh crud, we know." Keeping it clean, unlike John later on after he has a few more drinks with him. He's gonna be dropping the swears. I'm keeping it clean. But sometimes they price something and then say, "Oh no!" By the time it got into production, we took a bath on this. And so you could look at the success of that FET at $12.99, they sold a lot of them. You know, as we broke down with all the timestamps, it might have been like, you know, the original Xboxes where they're selling them at a loss. So every sale, you know, we're thinking, hey, it's doing great, and Hasbro would be going, oh no, stop buying it, please. We're taking, you know, we're taking a bath on this. So you don't know. Just because it was $12.99 doesn't mean that they was necessarily priced right originally, too.
Is it possible, and I'm only guessing, but is it possible where it's an exclusive, there could be a shorter run and therefore it needs to be higher priced to allow that production, you know, factory time and everything else?
Yeah.
So again, there's an element there, isn't there? Because I know certainly a lot of the other exclusives over here in the UK, Star Action figures, in-demand toys, have all been getting sort of quite short supplies of them. They've not been getting what they've been asking for. I mean, I think they're getting a fraction of what they're asking for. So they're obviously not making, you know, X amount to get enough over here. So then you ask the question, how many are they really making to go through Target or Walmart? I don't know if they're selling out that quickly over there or you know, over here they're just gone.
Well, I think the was it Morak Fett? I think he was $20.99, but then Costco Reeves and Axe Woves were, I think, $14.99, and then Migs was $13.99. I know they've kind of come out at different periods, but within a 6-month period. So it's kind of tough to see what, from my standpoint, there's a little bit of a tax for that Fett. I don't know, but
have we been able to order anything from the first wave? You know, I think there's a couple of figures revealed from the first wave, isn't there? Was it so you know because you just said about short supply there, Lewis. That figure with the dodgy legs of Cassian, that's part of a wave, isn't it? That's not an exclusive.
No.
And they were short on numbers on them as well. I personally think that the issues that we have is something to do with Hasbro UK just not allocating enough.
Yeah, it could be.
He's in that next assortment, I think, with Cal Kestis carry forward. I think that's what it is.
Can I say one more thing about the Fets before we move on?
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of, you know, angst in the comments. Just remember, they're exclusives, store exclusives. They're not in place of anything else. If you don't like them, skip them.
Yeah,
skip them. You know, you don't have to buy them. There's nobody saying you must buy these. You know, if it's a mainline figure, that's a different argument because that is definitely in place of something else. But exclusives are not in place. It's just an extra thing these retailers ordered that wouldn't exist otherwise. So there's no reason to have any angst about it. If you think it's priced too high, if you think it's a cash grab, skip it. Vote with your wallet. Vote with your wallet. There's no reason to get upset about it.
Now, I'm not a big comic person, but I can appreciate the deco on these Boba Fetts. Like when you really zoom in, you can see the paint deco on. And I'm sorry, I don't remember each version. What's the one that has more of the Christmas colors?
That's the 90s.
That's the vintage one. Isn't
That's the 90s one. Like he has like light blue sheen marks on his visor and like some pretty cool, you know, additional paint apps. And then obviously the other one that's more of that blue and yellow or that's
the night when you said Christmas colors, I thought you meant that green. So that's the 90s one, the second one you're talking about.
Oh, okay, then he has some like cool shadowing and sketch.
Yeah, that's the 90s one. The one that's that's painted basically.
It's a bit more like a credit collection figure, isn't it? Because it's almost based on the concept rather than a.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very plain. Let's put it that way. You know, the whole body is basically that green. I don't think it's paint. It looks to me like that's the cast. You know, but it's a very basically. You know, let's be frank. It's a very basically painted figure. There's nothing intricate about it, really. I don't think. But
well, I guess I
haven't looked at it really closely, but
I think that's what I'm saying. When you look closely, there's some intricate paint apps, you know, that come through that really show like what the artist, how the artist kind of, you know, drafted him, whatever. But so you know, and like what Chris was saying, right? Those card backs, the look of the comic figure on that card back. Who knows? You know, it's more of a collector.
Oh, I mean, the 42. I'm really excited about it. Don't get me wrong. I love the look of it.
Yeah.
Not so much the figure, but as Chris says, the whole package.
Yeah, and then
definitely.
And I don't know how Pulse UK is with getting you stuff. I mean, here Pulse is usually pretty good. Obviously, with the thicker card backs, it helps. But Target, it's like he's saying, it's a complete crapshoot. Just like Walmart's the worst, but Walmart and Amazon, forget it. But
Walmart's the worst, but it's expensive. At least you can spam your orders. Target limits you to 2.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
no chance.
So finally, about some of the reveal, like the 20th anniversary of Clone Wars, which I always find a bit weird, because they're releasing things that aren't in the 20th anniversary. They're later on, aren't they? But they're just putting them under this umbrella of the Gendy, when the Gendy Clone Wars was 20 years ago or whatever. How much of that do you think we're going to see? Do you think? I mean, what have we got so far? Three with that little logo. We've got basically the Rancor battalion, haven't we? Colt, Havoc, and Blitz. Is it?
Blitz, yeah.
It is. Do you think we'll see much more of that? Because I think that'll be a lot less than Return of the Jedi for sure.
I can't see a lot of new stuff coming out of that.
No.
I mean, obviously we've got clones. We've got a new clone sculpt coming, so that's certainly going to give them some, ability to use and abuse that. I'd love to think that it could be an opportunity to get something like a Dooku out, or even a Ventress or something like that. But I don't know. I'm probably dreaming. Who knows? But I think painted clones is easy, isn't it, when you're doing that kind of thing?
Chris, do you think all of that 20th anniversary stuff will be like exclusives, basically?
I don't know. More importantly, I don't care. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of repainting that ARC Trooper. I'm just done with it.
Do you know what's interesting, Chris? I was running through. We're doing a roundup, SWTVC, our most liked posts for the year, and that Blitz actually came. The person who got the most liked post was actually a collection, but the biggest reveal, most liked reveal by a long way, was that Blitz figure.
Wow!
And I mean by a long way, it was almost 50% more than the bunker. Crazy.
Oh, the Utes.
Yeah.
Because I think I was in the comments of your stream, Lewis, and I joked that people moaning about the repaint of Fett 4 times, but we've had 9 now of that ARC Trooper. But then people were like, but it's a different character. It was a joke, basically. I realized that they're different characters, but I just think I think my point was that. As much as I love the Umbra and the other 2 that came out in the Gaming Greats or whatever, I feel, to stop, for the saturation of that sculpt,
too many.
I just would have preferred the Rancor ones over those 3. So then, if you've only got the 6, then you're not sort of oversaturating and annoying people like Chris that are sick of it.
It was funny though, because I think going back last year, I can remember people saying when the first 3 arcs came out, people were saying, "Oh, give us more of these. It's great, repaint these, and we love them." And the same with the Mandos, people were saying, "Give us more of these. You can repaint hell out of them." And then you get to the end of the year, and people are kind of going, "No more, not anymore. No more arcs, no more Mandos. It's just too much." But wait till next year when we've got a whole load of Imperial officers and we've got a whole load of new clones, phase 2 clones. We'll all be crying about those. But no, I'm happy to take as many of them as they want to throw at us. Really.
Well, that's the thing. I won't be, because I've been banging on about a new clone sculpt for ages, and I'll take them all again, like 212, 501st, 312 of that new. I'll take them all again. I love the phase 2 clone. And as for the officer as well, that Piet looks so good that again, I would like them to do all of them,
Yeah.
But that's just me. I'm just gonna read out this thing here. Rob Chewbacca Toys, thank you, buddy. He says, started TVC in 2020 with the release of the Target Millennium Falcon. We need Photo Real, Padme, Geonosis, Slave Leia, Anakin Episode 3, Ben Solo, Supreme Kylo, Dooku, Old Ben Episode 4, keep making TVC great, BB. In there's like quite a lot of range of what one person wants. You know what I mean? Out of that lot, Padme would have been a good one to do alongside the Anakin that they released as a repack from the Black Series. Easy one, So, Chris, you're sick of that one, are you? The ARC Trooper. You don't want any more of those.
Yeah, and I was smirking when you were talking about the 212th and all that stuff, because I'm like, yeah, that, I want that. I want the so I can see like somebody at Hasbro like pulling their hair out. You just said you're cloned out. Well, no, I'm tired of the same mold getting that old mold that I haven't had, they've had a bunch of times getting repainted. This new mold that I'm getting, that one I do want repainted for the 212, the 501st. But in large part because the one we have is just the VC45 one with the removable helmet is just awful, such an awful figure. I can't wait. And as I wrote this morning, kills me that the Ahsoka clone trooper came out on that mold. It just kills me.
I'm holding out for them to reuse that new. Hopefully, it's all new phase 2 or phase 2, right? Phase 2 clone trooper. For them to use that for other things. If you highlight, sorry.
Oh no, go on.
I was gonna say if you highlight Evan's Mile High Grounds 5:59 p.m. post, I think that's maybe part of the problem. Is there's just so much repaint and even reissue, whatever, that if there was more newness added with that, it wouldn't be as bad. But I think that hurts your wallet a bit for some folks, and you want to see that balance.
And it's not just TVC, really. I mean, I thought your tweet was quite interesting, Chris, that you did the other day with the peg warming Black Series. Why are these warming the shelves? And some of the replies to that tweet were very interesting. A lot of people like, it's not the characters I want, or they're overpriced. A lot of it was to do with the price, because if you're a Black Series, I mean, we don't want figures over $20, £20. But if you're a Black Series collector and they're getting over 30, that's got a sting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is what kind of annoys me. Like, TVC should be capitalizing on that. Like, if you're a selfish TVC collector, you should be like, right, they're hemorrhaging people because of the price of the Black Series. Keep TVC low, entice more people in.
Well, you're still seeing people actually saying that they're jumping out of Black Series and going into TVC. I see you see it quite a lot, and I think price is obviously a factor, but I think the quality is also a factor, because I think again Black Series is going up in price, but the quality of some of this stuff doesn't seem to be quite on par. And you've only got to look now at the figures we're getting in 3.75 and look at the Black Series counterparts. And, I know we're biased. We say that the 3.75 are better, but I genuinely think in most cases they are. There might be a few exceptions. And so, again, people are looking at these things and thinking, well, why am I paying extra for something? Well, actually, this smaller one now is the collector quality. The bigger one is kind of just costing me more money for something that's not as good quality. I don't, say we're biased, but I just think that these days, when you look at toy photography as well, you're seeing stuff, and it's actually getting harder and harder to spot what's the 3.75 figure, just because the quality is just getting so good now. And they always claimed that the 6-inch was the advantage. It was better in toy photography, but with the face sculpts now and the photo reel, there's no real difference.
Yeah, I always use Ahsoka as the Corvus figure as a great example. They're virtually identical.
Yeah,
virtually identical. It's not, and then you're right. So, if you look at, say, Bo-Katan, I know we're biased, but when you look at Bo-Katan, I think the head is better on the TVC than it is a Black Series.
Yeah,
there's something not right because of the hair and the removable helmet and everything. That they've had to flatten her hair down a little bit, I think, and things like that. So
you brought up another bitter point of mine, Tim.
What's that?
The Ahsoka Corvus. We don't have anything for that figure to fight. I mean, it's a great dueling figure. Nothing, unless we want to, have Din Djarin block a couple, slashes. But the Black Series gets the HK-87 droid. Where's our HK-87 droid for that figure to fight?
Yeah,
the figures in isolation do no good for me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like I as you can see, I try to set up scenes.
Yeah.
I don't stick figures on a shelf in isolation. I need something for them to interact with, and the fact that figure has nothing really.
This is when the go back to the grumpy old men thing. I know you've got your opinions about Endor not being toyetic, and you wouldn't really be too bothered if you think any more figures from that show or whatever.
Right.
But when we were on that Q&A thing, you know, one of my questions was why have we got this Endor figure and then Vel from two different, you know, they're just in isolation. They meet,
Right.
they don't do, you know, and they're great figures as well, man. You know, they're so good. And it almost seems a bit of a waste, doesn't it? If you're not going to go for it, then why
Honestly,
do any of them at all, you know?
Would you rather have had that Endor or a definitive episode 4 Luke? What would you rather have for that
You
tool?
sound like
Both.
Patrick now.
I want both.
What's that?
You're making me choose, Chris. You're making me choose.
Yeah, but honestly, just choose. You know,
No.
to me, it's not a hard decision. A figure
No.
that I can, that's going to go in a drawer. Honestly, it's going to go in a drawer when I get it because I have nothing to do with it. There's no display I can make with it other than, you know, oh, here's my one Endor figure with my 6 Obi-Wan figures, maybe. But that Luke, I can do a lot of stuff with, so it's not even an easy call for me. You know,
I think you have to
Luke.
hope though that they'll build out some. I mean,
Yeah.
I say that Ahsoka, I'm not sure we'll ever see a Lang or Morgan Elsbeth. Is that her name? I don't think we'll ever see it, let alone a HK. But I think perhaps some of the other figures, you know, we're getting Hunter now. You have to assume they're going to build out the rest of the Bad Batch because, like you said, what's the point? There's no point in having Hunter unless they build it out. So.
But is that I'm asking you guys now? Is that fun for you? Is it fun waiting 6 years to complete a crew?
No.
It's absolutely not fun for me. That's why I wish they would just they should focus on things that they can complete. In my opinion, I think sales would do better as a result.
Well, that's where sometimes bringing them out in a wave, even if it's a
Right.
smaller kind of wave, does, you know, like we was talking about the Return of the Jedi stuff that's coming, it creates a scene, doesn't it? Because we're getting all these things that can go together. And I guess that's what they need to do with the new media, and that's what's not happening. I mean, even look at the first 4 Mando figures we got. We got what? Cara Dune. We had the Raider, actually, was the first one, wasn't it? Mando, and then the Remnant Stormtrooper. And even that, they were a bit random, you know, in terms, but those 4, at least you could perhaps do something with them. But it took a while to start to build. Now we have some decent Mando scenes, but it has taken some time to do that.
Yeah. I just thought I'd highlight this one because it's super chat, and also it talks about what you're saying, Chris. You know, how long must we wait for a New Hope, Han, Luke, and Leia? I think, you know, a lot of people are calling for these now. It's about time they did them, didn't they? But you know, you've got what we up to VC's 260 something, and we don't have them.
But the thing, and what's going to be frustrating for me when we eventually do get them, we have 12, whatever, depending on your counting, 12 newly tooled figures a year. They have to, those figures have to be newly tooled. There's no kit bashing or anything that can be done with them. They have to be newly tooled. We have another very loud chunk of the community saying, you know, focus on the new shows. I'll say so between those 12 new toolings, you got all the new media and those main figures. We're going to get maybe one a year. So you're looking at, you know, 4 or 5 years to get those figures updated. As John pointed out, I'm 50. I don't know if I'm going to be around.
And also, as you brought up before, Chris, about like the advancements they make in 5 years.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
The layer that comes out, say they do Leia first, and then Luke comes out 3 years later. Then, you know, we're already seeing it now. Like, oh, why can't that Boba Fett have the new hips? Why can't the Stormtrooper?
Why can't the Stormtrooper have the new hips? Yeah.
And
it's not only just, you know, in terms of the technology too. It's aesthetically too, and that's what really bothers me when there's a big aesthetic. You know, like if you look at like Power of the Force 2 figures, the fabric was, you know, everything was done like spandex, like it was all form fitting. Then they started sculpting in fabric folds, and you get this aesthetic jump in the figures. And if you put the two of them next to each other, they don't belong. And now we're seeing that if you have a display where you have an old face paint and photoreal next to each other, it sticks out. And that's why contemporary or, you know, complementary figures should be done in a tight time period, so they have a cohesive visual appearance in your display. They look like they came from the same collection, as opposed to, like I said, when when you put Barada in your Jabba's Palace display, it looks completely out of place. You know, next to Yak Face.
A great example is the 2 Andors. Actually, the Andor, the original Andor from Rogue One, looks like a wooden doll, you know, compared to the new one. You know, it really does. But JD, thanks for the super chat, buddy. I'm just going to say hello. I saw. Hi, Nick. How you doing, mate? Good to see you here. But yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, when it comes to the Bad Batch, I've got to say I have been giggling over the last couple of days because of those posters that they've been releasing. And like, I know we saw the show, the trailer anyway, and you can see that they've got all their new orange flashes. You know that the Black Series are going to get them, didn't you? Repaints, and you'll get all these people moaning, "Oh, we've already got those," and Disney have just put a little orange flash on their armor, and now you're releasing them again. Well, you know, that's for me. If they're going to do them, I just want season 1, because Hunter's season 1, isn't it? Don't start giving me Hunter from season 1. Echo from season 2, you know, you've got
Grief Karga all over again.
Yeah, and then that's going to, as you say, Chris, that's your problem with leaving it too long.
How about having all the enemies from Jedi Fallen Order in the hero from Jedi Survivor?
What is up with that? Yeah.
Yeah. Classic.
Well, it was hard. It was hard to pull the trigger on some of those sets.
Yeah, that Jedi Survivor set over here is like, I think you can get it for $29.99 now, which is, you know, for a few army builder figures, that's pretty decent, you know, compared to what it was. I'm trying not to cough here. So yeah, when I was looking back, because I wanted to look back at 2022, and I actually couldn't believe, because sometimes you think, God, the year's gone quick. Where's the year go? It goes so quick. But we got the Razor Crest in February this year.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, it seems such a long time ago that we got the I don't know about you, but it did for me. I
We
couldn't
waited
believe
so
that it
long
was
for
this
it,
year.
didn't we? Probably makes it, because you're waiting a year or so for it, probably makes it feel longer anyway.
Yeah. And apart from that, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've had a vehicle this year. Apart from that.
I couldn't think of one when I was writing my article this morning.
We've had over 100 figures this year, including the HasLab convention exclusives.
4-packs and...
did I include the 4-packs? I'm forgetting. Yeah. I included those. Yeah. 107 figures for the budget year. Pretty much the same for the release year. So, yeah.
That's mental, isn't it?
But like you guys mentioned, by the title card, you had over 30 The Mandalorian figures. The Clone Wars was around 13.
People are saying that we had the Slave One, but nobody's got that yet, have they? And it's the Book of Boba Fett. It's not
Right.
Slave One, Return of the Jedi 40th. It's a Book of Boba Fett one, isn't it? You get that.
Yeah. You get the Nomad Boba Fett with it.
You get the Nomad, which is a flashback in Book of Boba Fett. I was trying to think to myself, why have they put that Boba Fett in there? But yeah, it was in the flashback like that, wasn't it? So, yeah. So apart from that, we haven't had any. Well, you know, the speed bikes drop some. You know, you can get it on import or whatever, and a toy hideout have it. But in terms of, it shouldn't be too long, I would guess. But it will be. It is for next year, isn't it? It's the 40th anniversary. So, in terms of this year, we've had the Razor Crest. That's it for vehicles.
The play sets have kind of replaced that, haven't they?
Yeah.
Got a couple of play sets in between. Seems to
This
be
is
where they're
bad.
putting it.
What was this year's playset? Was it the Navarro Cantina? I can't remember.
Navarro Cantina.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Chris? Would you rather vehicles?
What's that?
Would you rather vehicles?
Well, as we learned from our cantankerous Q&A, vehicles and figures are the same budget, so I don't know. I don't know. I think I'd rather have figures right now. Stick vehicles to HasLab, so we keep it away from the tooling budget and just give us more figures.
I'm totally fine with that. There was a period of my life where I just only collected the figures, and to me that's the most important. Like, just give me more figures instead for now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to the throne room set coming out. But yeah. I mean, there's nothing from Book of Boba really to fill that thing. I'm sure 99% of us are buying that to fill it with Return of the Jedi product. And I'm pretty sure that most of the product that's going to be coming out next year for Return of the Jedi is going to be geared around it as well. So yeah, it's nice that, you know, if we didn't have those figures we already had, then really that play set would be a bit redundant.
Yeah, they've got to
So
give us a
we were-
Jabba,
we-
haven't they?
When we were talking in the green room, that's what that space is for right there. That's where the
Right.
Book of Boba Fett throne room, and then the repainted Slave One next to it. That's what's going there.
Yeah, and obviously they showed it off with, you know, that end scene, right, where he kills off Bib, Fortuna, and him and Fennec, you know, are hanging out on that.
Squid
throne.
runs off. Squid head. He runs off. Chickens out, and he
Yeah.
runs up the
Was
stairs.
he there? I
Yeah,
literally just watched that
Yeah.
yesterday. I didn't realize Squid. Okay.
yeah, he's there. Yeah, in the end of Mando season 2, that little bit at the end.
Yeah.
He's like behind
stinger,
the throne,
yeah.
and then he runs up the stairs at the back as soon as the guns start firing.
I gotta check that
So
out again.
another sail barge survivor, Bib and
Yeah,
Squidhead. Wow.
yeah.
Took the back door.
So I mean, really, yeah, going back to the Return of the Jedi 40th stuff, actually, you kind of wonder if there's going to be some overlap there. You know, 8D8 would be a great one. Has to be on a Return of the Jedi card, but you know, for us to open them, that would go into that front room as a Book of Boba set, wouldn't it? Even an EV99 would slot into Mando scenes. So
Right.
you have to look at some of those. Perhaps this is the opportunity to get some of those figures out, but dual purpose. So who knows? Who knows?
What do you guys feel about if they did like a build a droid with some of those again and started packing in a piece of 8D8 or EV99 or any of those guys, some of those new little droids we've seen?
I'd be quite happy with it as long as they're accurate. I don't necessarily think that the droids need, you know, all the articulation and what have you. I mean, they need enough.
Right.
So yeah, that could work. This is the thing, isn't it? It's like if they suddenly said, "Here's a brand new 8D8 from the ground up," and that's part of your tooling budget. I mean, you know, that's a slot taken for an 8D8 droid. It's a tough one to swallow, that, I reckon.
What's sad is, you know, when you think about like what you want new tooling to go to, you almost have to think of how can it be reused too.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, maybe a new protocol droid, new tooling would be good because then we can get a whole bunch of protocol droids out of it.
Hi, Victoria. Hope you're well. Yeah, Nick. How the hell did so many get off the barge? Even Max Rebo.
Yeah, and then got blown up in the second time.
So what Nick doesn't know is how many aliens in the Star Wars universe have fireproof skin. See, he doesn't know that. You need a super nerd like me to know that Max Rebo is immune to fire.
But just not a bomb going off next to him. Could you imagine going in there and like they had like bits of blue elephant like all over the walls and stuff?
Poor guy doesn't have any arms too, man. Jeez.
He looked a bit weird as well, didn't he? Didn't you think in the Book of Boba Fett? He didn't look something not quite right about him.
He had that
for a lot.
He had that stomach surgery where they tie off his stomach and he lost a bunch of weight. He was just a little flabby, you know, an extra skin.
Same for the pig guards, the gammies.
Yeah, I get asked a lot about those gammies. Like, you know, as you were saying, Lewis, you know, we're getting that throne room. They would be like obvious ones, you know, that would need doing, I think. But then I think, as you say, I think really they're expecting most people to set it up as the Return of the Jedi.
I think they will. And it makes you wonder, actually, with fat Bib Fortuna we're getting, what's underneath that? Because most of his stuff's soft goods. So is there something under there that could be reused for a Gamorrean guard or, you know, a Malakili, possibly? Just thinking of some of the figures that are in Return of the Jedi that are a little bit, you know, rounded, should we say? There could be some forward thinking underneath that figure.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't believe when they said he was all new. I was like, wow, holy cow. it would be great to get.
When are we due to get that set? Is it spring or did it get pushed further? I always thought it was spring 23, but
I think it's summer. I think for us anyway. Well, it
Yeah.
might be spring for you. It'll be Christmas.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that was my highlight of 2022 is seeing Tim get everything 6 months before me.
Lewis, you've got that latest wave as well, Lewis, haven't you? You got it from Endor.
I got it from Endor. Yeah, and again, we talk about price of figures. I paid slightly more to get those, but I kind of, you just want them, don't you? Especially as we've had, I think up to getting those, I had at least 6 weeks, if not 8 weeks, of just nothing coming
that's
in.
half of it. That is half of it. You just like, it's a lull, isn't it? You just want something, you know?
Yeah.
We just got the Dark Trooper.
Yesterday.
Just got it yesterday, a bunch of us from Amazon. Yeah. Amazon beat everybody.
John, it's bad enough that the UK gets it early anyway. On top of it, you got Tim paying kids to like hijack the shipments right out of the factory and import them early for them.
What's your favorite figure out of that wave, Lewis?
I actually really like this guy.
Cool.
Cal.
The reason I like Cal, he was always on my list anyway in terms of most wants, but not obviously this version. But now I've got him. I think he's great, and to get that as well, you know. I just think the accessories, you know, you've got the hilt, you've got the lightsaber. I just think the accessories are great, and not enough figures come with accessories these days. You know, Velsafa, I think one of the biggest criticisms of her is she came with that one rifle, and you know, they could have put a poncho on, they could have given her a comm of some sort. You know, I think they could have just padded that out a little bit more just to make her a little bit more toyetic. Because really, she isn't overly Star Wars looking anyway. And I think, you know, you look at ones like Mithril. I know Chris had Mithril and Quill. Chris beat both of them overhead in his article today. But I mean, they both come with great accessories. And again, for someone who likes taking them out and taking photos and world building, I like to see those accessories come with figures.
Yeah, she's very G.I. Joe-esque, isn't she? I think. Good for customizers, I'd imagine.
So
yeah, and again, it might feed into some more female figures that we've been asking for. So again, everything that gets done new, we have to look at, as Chris said, you know, what goes forward. But it's all about building the tooling library. And I think the Black Series have always got this advantage over us at the moment that they've got a bigger tooling library. So they get the Mud Troopers out quickly, and they get some of these other figures that we've tried to show Hasbro how you can get to them. I mean, John done that article, didn't he, on how to get to that. And you know, but we haven't got always those bits in between to be able to get to that. And I think the more we build the tooling library, the more we'll get there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Does the Black, do they have a few figures that are inaccurate to a certain extent? I'm sorry, like, I don't know as much about that line.
I don't know. They have got some, yeah.
I know you've got the is it Boss and Scorch and those ones? People, I know people aren't happy with those because they just use the Hunter body. I don't think they think they're big.
And obviously, their chrysanthemum figure was way off. You know.
No, I thought people loved that. I thought that was
a comic version. It's fine. Well, I'm very happy that you have your Patrick Kestis figure, and he's
yeah, he does look a bit. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's not focusing very well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
I love the whole idea of a saber and a blaster by your side, kind of like Empire Strikes Back Luke. So that's I think that's pretty badass.
So hang on, I've lost my thing here.
Yeah, some of us enjoyed Book of Boba Fett too, Adam Barry. Who else is?
I enjoyed Book of Boba Fett, Alf Tanner. I know a lot.
Oh, Book of Boba Fett was awesome. Yeah, sure, he was laid back and not too bright. Look back at Clone Wars Boba; he wasn't that bright during that period. Good conversation happening in the chat.
So 2020 2022 as a whole, then I know your article, Chris, you kind of said that you weren't, you didn't think it was really a great year.
No. When I look
Do you want to
back,
expand on why that is?
Yeah.
Well, I'll start by saying that if it wasn't for us, that Walmart wave with the what was it, the five OT figures, I would think 2022 was a disaster. And it's not because the figures aren't great; they're phenomenal. Just as I've said several times, there's nothing to do with them. I have 6 Obi-Wan figures, 2 of which are Obi-Wan. It doesn't make for a great display. I've got a lot of Mandalorians, which John pulling up here.
Oh, sorry. I still haven't opened this.
Oh yeah. I haven't even, as I wrote, I haven't even opened that. I just don't care. We got the Figrin Don or Dan, whatever it is, the Bith band with the inaccurate pockets. Should have been great, but I just can't be too excited about it when I just see those pockets every time I look at the figure. You got the 332nd clone trooper, the Ahsoka's clone trooper. Should have been great. It's that stupid VC-45 sculpt with the giant helmet. It just, ditto for the 501st. And I just look back at the line, there's things that, looked like they'd be exciting. And like the Obi-Wan figures, when they first got them, they'd be exciting, thinking there's the promise of more to come, but then that's it. There's no more to come. And to be fair, and as Lewis said, maybe as they build out those collections a few years later, then I'll start to appreciate those older figures more. But right now, it's just like, I don't feel like I added too much to my collection that excites me this year, basically is what it comes down to. Either because the new tools exist too much in isolation, or because the figures that I could integrate in my collection have some sort of flaw with them, either, inaccurate sculpts or old sculpts or things like that.
Yeah. And
thank God for the Stormtrooper.
Yeah, and going back to what you were saying about there's like a vocal part of the community that wants new media, and I think it's because when new media comes out, and we get, as you say, 6. Well, at the time it was 3 Obi-Wan figures. We didn't know about the 3-pack, and the Black Series I think got 8 to 10, all the Inquisitors, Ned B, and all that. I was really angry at that point, but now the time's gone. I don't really care. Like at the time, I was pushing like, why isn't the vintage collection getting these new figures? But I almost think
it starts to move on.
Yeah, you almost sort of think like that's done now. And like you said before, Solo's so far in the rear view mirror, you will never get anything from that again. Yeah. But things move so quickly now, and new things come out so quickly. If you don't get them immediately, like a decent amount at the time or shortly after, then the new thing comes out and you're like, right, because now, and I know you don't agree with this, but I loved Endor so much, and I know it's not toyetic in terms of there's no lightsabers and there's no Jedis and all that kind of stuff. I still am envious of the Black Series when I look at Luthen and things like that, because he was just, for me, is just such a cool character. But I do agree with you in that if I had Luthen, what would he do? Like, who would he go with? I'd sooner have the client, because he does go with other things that I've got. Right. You know what I mean?
And the other thing, I always look at the health of the line too. So I'm always concerned about the health of the line. And I'm sorry, the new media figures, go look at Amazon. Obi-Wan is under MSRP. Mithril's under MSRP. Queel's under MSRP. It's all the new media figures. Meanwhile, the Emperor, which was a pretty poor figure in my opinion, it's just, it's the 2012 figure with a new head. It stinks, over MSRP on Amazon. So I actually think they should just, with a limited amount of tool we get, I think for the health of the line, I think they should focus on bankable media and skip the new media. I know that's wildly unpopular, but I think if the line would do a lot better.
Sometimes though, that can go against new collectors coming in, can't it? Again, because the new media again could potentially draw new people in. The problem that the Black series have against us again, if you're a younger kid, younger collector, and you're watching the Bad Batch, and you want a Bad Batch figure, then that's where you go. You go to Black series because they've got the whole.
Did you say kid though?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying you might be a kid, you might be someone in their 20s, I'm talking kid loosely, but someone who hasn't been in it for 40 years like we have, or 40 plus years. So someone who's watching that new media, who thinks, okay, I want to get into this, I'm going to start buying figures. And if the figures aren't there, if the figures just aren't available, then straight away they're going to go to a different scale. And then you've almost lost those people immediately.
That's right.
Well,
they're going at 6.
I will say you're describing a casual collector, and casual collectors are going to go to Black series anyway. They are over at TVC. And as far as new blood, I think the new blood is a lot of your friends, from the SWTVC group, and maybe updates to Kiadi Mundi, Mace Windu. To me, that's where the tooling budget should go. I think that would pull in a lot more people, seeing those 3 3/4 inch figures, definitive versions from when they were a kid. I think that would be more helpful to the line than the Obi-Wan figure we got, is just an example.
Just not Count Dooku. Nobody wants Count Dooku. So.
Well, now there's a hilarious one though, John. Like you're against Count Dooku, right, John?
I mean, he's not at the top of my list.
Personally, right?
Personally, I've championed for him though. I will,
as have I. I'm personally against it. I think oddly enough, it's a miracle. The 2005 Sith Evolutions one does enough for what a Christopher Lee figure needs to do for me. So I'm satisfied with that one. So I'm just saying, John's against it. I'm against it. And how you guys feel? I know Brett's against it. New tooling for that. But it seems like the community is like, once you get like past the people, like our group, the community is wildly in favor of it. I've never seen such a disconnect between.
It may be because that figure wasn't widely available, though. Perhaps people would happily take it as a repack. I'm not saying it was repacked. That particular version.
TLC. It was repacked in TLC.
Give him some swivel wrists, maybe some up rocker ankles. Call it a day.
I'm for.
But would you like to see a new tool, John? Would you like to see a new tooling budget go to that when the serviceable figure exists?
Just give him somebody else's hands that have hinged wrists, okay?
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like I've always been someone that's called for Dooku, but there's a few reasons for that. One, it's because I just think the vintage collection in general lacks the main bad guys.
But new tooling. I'm talking new tooling versus.
But this is it. When you talk about like a completely from the ground up, then I think there's elements of other figures that they could use to make a decent Count Dooku, and it's more about just getting him in the line onto a card back. It's missing from that Attack of the Clones. It'd have to be an Attack of the Clones card. So from a carded collector's point of view, it's missing from a one of the main bad guys from the prequel trilogy. He's missing. But of course we've had him before in other lines. Right. So, I can understand why he does come high up in people's want lists like brackets, and get asked a lot of questions about him and what have you. But if you were to say to me, would you rather the tooling budget you spent on a Luke Skywalker farm boy, then 100% it always goes. I'll always gravitate to the OT, and this is the same for like the Bad Batch. Like, I want the Bad Batch, but I'm not jumping up and down for them because they're an animated show. First and foremost for me is the real life stuff,
But even when you say, even if you kept it to PT instead of Dooku, instead of going to like an OT figure, even if you keep it to the PT, like I said, Kiadi Mundi still has swivel elbows. We have a Jedi that spans the entire trilogy, all 3 movies, stuck with swivel elbows. For new tooling, I think it could be better spent for the PT.
Well, I mean, and if they newly tooled that figure, then there's other Jedi that could be upgraded as well. So yeah, it's a win-win, isn't it? I mean, that's
the thing. We talk about those army builder packs, and Lewis, you mentioned it with the Ewok from the Toys R Us Ewok pack. Do you remember when they did those Jedi packs? It was all just new heads on kit passion. Those were fantastic.
Yeah, right.
You get some new PT Jedi out there, you can start building that up. Oh,
Evan,
oh,
Evan,
if Evan wasn't an absolutist, we wouldn't be Evan.
Only a Sith deals in it.
don't make new media, only make OT. Everyone else can go play in the traffic. Got it. While I'm playing Glib, I've never felt more put off TVC and felt less welcome into something. I don't think it's about, look, you know, it's a difficult one because everyone does want different stuff. And when you have got a limited thing, so it's about, you know, other people out there are going to go, look, I 100% want animated figures. You know, they want the Bad Batch, they want more Clone Wars. And when you look at how good those Mando style figures were that you had in your top figures of the list for the year, Chris, amazing figures. They really were. The Airborne Death Watch is right up there in my favorite figure of the year. It's great.
And it's not just because he has barbell hips.
No, he's just great anyway. But saying, you know, if you're being absolute and you have to sort of pick something, then I would always go for, you know, real life stuff.
Yeah. And I hope Evan doesn't miss the point. I'm not saying I don't want new media figures. I'm looking at what's selling and what's not selling. And they're, you know, if anything's underperforming in TVC right now, it's new media figures. And we can be, you know, locusts again. We can eat this hobby again and be selfish and say, we want this stuff, even though it's going to lose you money, Hasbro. Then the line goes away. I'm terrified of that. I've lived through it once. I don't want it to happen again. So, you know, I'm a little sensitive when I see all these new media figures not performing well at retail for, you know, one reason or another.
It does seem like a lot of overproduction has happened recently.
But even that Obi-Wan wave, my store only got one case. Yeah. And Reva and Obi-Wan sat there. They did sell. Yep. But
in both lines as well, though, isn't it? I mean, those figures are sitting in both lines. It's not just TVC that they're not moving in.
Yeah.
Hang on, Tim. Could you pull up my question for Chris above? Hang on a second.
While he's pulling that up, you know, if they focused on the Mandalorian and Clone Wars this past year, why can't we focus more on OT next year since it's a 40th anniversary? Like,
so,
why, you know?
Yeah. So to answer Tyler's question, yes. And my belief is that we need to get the sales up, and I believe the sales are in established characters. So once we get the sales up, we can start filling in these other things. But the sales have to come first. They're still not there. They're getting better. They're still not there. And again, when I look at the Emperor, which is a bad figure, and it was in a very much overproduced case. Tim, didn't you say, you know, like that was an overproduced case even over there in the UK?
Yeah, well, a lot of it arrived damaged.
Oh, okay.
So it's come back.
Yeah. So, but you know, and now even though the Emperor, you know, I know Lando was in that case. That's a different story because of the 3 per case. But you know, I just look at that, and just to me, it's a little piece of evidence that says the figures with name recognition are the ones we need to focus on right now, just to get the sales up more and more and more.
I personally think the most overproduced wave was the Bo-Katan wave.
Yeah.
I went into town today, and I went into a game. Like, we've got this shop called Game, right? And it's a video game shop, and they've started to get TVC and Black Series in again. Same as HMV, which is essentially a record shop, or, you know, CD, DVD shop.
Down your age, Tim.
Yeah. What's a CD? But they're getting this stuff in, you know, now, but it's so, because it's a retail shop. It's so, like, Bo-Katan in Game today was $16.99. Nobody is going to pay for that, because in the Entertainer, which is essentially I wouldn't call it a discount shop, but with the Star Wars stuff, it's usually they get it at the end of the line, and you could get all of that wave for £4.75 each.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're just going to be warming forever. And like Bo-Katan, Bib Fortuna, I think I saw a photo from Ireland. Bib Fortuna was €2.99, which is what, £2.50.
Crazy.
So $3. You know, that wave for me was just everywhere. And I think not only did the online retailers get a lot of it, but then Smiths, that was the wave when Smiths, which is basically Toys R Us, I guess, like in terms of they're like these massive toy shops. That was when they first jumped back into TVC. Am I right, Lewis? I think that's the first wave that they
Yeah,
jumped
because
back
they
in.
hadn't touched it for a long while. Yeah.
And it was just jam packed. And
I
I
think
said
they had
before,
some carbonized just before that as well, which probably wasn't the best move either.
yeah. And I've said it before, it's like we've been buying online for so long in the UK that collectors know where to get it and they get it. So when it turns up in Smiths, you know, I know you get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I want a toy hunt. There's nothing like seeing them on the pegs and all this." I'm the opposite to that. I just want to get my pre-ordering because then I know I've got it, you know, and I don't have to sift through them all or waste petrol on God knows how many trips to try and find these things. So I'm not surprised that, and I believe that Smiths are now wash their hands with it again. They're
They
like,
pulled out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyler question he wanted you to address was, why do casual collectors gravitate to the Black Series, Chris?
Because hardcore collectors want vehicles, want a world build, and you need a smaller scale to do that. If you're only going to buy one or two, if you're casual, you only buy a handful of figures, you want the bigger, more detailed.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like I love the Ninja Turtles, and I can only get those in 6-inch. So I bet there's casual collectors out there that have this pop culture mix of these 6-inch figures, and they're going to put Star Wars.
Yeah.
There, you know?
I mean, when I collected Marvel, which I don't care about, it's figure based. When I collected Marvel, I wanted the 6-inch figure. I didn't like the 3 3/4-inch Marvel Universe figures. They weren't detailed. I wanted the 6-inch figures because it's figure based. I don't need a lot of space or anything like that. But once you get to the world building, you need the smaller scale.
There's some good answers here too, right? Because it's easy and available. Because Black Series gets all the non-OT.
But that's because in a lot of ways they're marketed that way, aren't they? Because as Tim's just saying, you're only finding Black Series in certain stores. You're certainly only finding certain characters. You're certainly only finding certain media. So it's almost like Hasbro are pushing it that way. I'm not saying they're trying to kill the line, you know, trying to kill TVC, but they certainly don't prioritize it in the same way they do Black Series.
It does seem more online niche, right? Like I go to my Target. There's like retro, the Black Series, and maybe a Bespin Lando. I don't see much.
He's still there.
I think he's still there, but you know, I'm not seeing. And there was like Mayfeld and some of those that were just in abundance at one point, but I think TVC is more online based at this point.
A lot of truth to that right there.
What did she say at the end there? They buy.
They're most likely buying pops. But that's the thing with pops, isn't it? It's, they do get all the new stuff out very, very quickly because it's very easy to do. I was watching a live stream earlier, Star Wars Santa, and they had a couple of collectors on there, and they were talking about, you know, he compared basically action figures to pops and Lego. I hate making the comparison between those things because, you know, Lego's got to be like 95% reuse, isn't it? So when they like go, here's the Bad Batch shuttle with all the characters, there's probably like 2 new pieces in that whole set, and the characters are all the same shape and whatever. They might have a new helmet sculpt, maybe, you know. So I never like doing that because it's you're not comparing apples to apples, are you?
The other thing with Funko Pops too is the thing we don't, you know, as a community, we don't really acknowledge that much. Is we're not the direct customers. Retailers are the customers. And Funko Pops are much more appealing to retailers than Vintage Collection or even the Black Series. The profit margin on Funko Pops is ridiculous compared to TVC and TBS. It's a much safer product for them to, you know, tie up money on inventory.
Isn't it like a crazy percentage of toy sales is Funko Pop? Isn't it like something absurd, like 30% or? I forget what it was, but
my kids buy them, so yeah, I could believe that.
Like my daughters love these Squishmallows, which
mine like that as well.
I was telling you, I saw like a quick interview with the Jazzwares CEO, and he was like, we didn't even know what we had. We bought this company. It was like the secret sauce we had no idea we had. And I mean, there's they probably have 25 each of these things, but it's crazy.
But perhaps that's where collecting is slightly different for that stuff, because again, 3.75 collectors traditionally, I'm not saying everyone does, traditionally want to collect them all. You know, it's what they always told us to do, collect them all. With some of this other stuff, you do just pick and choose. You know, you pick certain characters, and perhaps that's where the Black Series, well, perhaps that's what the Black Series collectors lean towards. That, you know, just picking the ones that they want, not necessarily feeling they have to go, you know, every single release. Again, I'm sure there's some completists out there, but perhaps not the majority of them.
Yeah, great point.
Masterpiece, I do apologize. It's because I haven't been well. I just haven't had a chance. Message me again to remind me on wherever you messaged me, and I'll do it tomorrow for you.
So, there was a Jacob guy, Jacob Stanko. He was asking us 642 if you can go to that. I think he's asked that a couple times.
This one?
Yeah. So we have a question. Which bounty hunter do you want to see if you have to pick one? What is Embo? What is Embo or Dirge?
Oh, Embo's really cool.
Embo, yeah.
Who's Embo? I don't even.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, yeah.
The dude with the shield hat.
Yeah,
He's
I know
actually a
who
pretty
you mean.
decent animated figure of him, but
Yeah,
he's
there is.
animated. Yeah.
Black Chrysanthemum or Cad Bane.
I gotta look him up.
But by the way, to the Pops people, yes, you know, I'm not immune.
Oh my God, Chris! I'm not sure if we can be friends anymore.
Oh, come on! It's Silicon Valley. I had to.
Have you got the
great show.
ET? Have you got ET with the Bart Elliott and the BT with the? I thought that looked pretty cool. I must admit.
Oh, this guy. Okay. That's right.
I'd say Cad Bane is one of my favourite characters, to be honest. Been wanting to see him in TVC for a long, long while.
He's been pipelined, right?
From the Book of Boba, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that exclusive, the Black Series one with what's his droid's name again? Jesus,
Todo.
right there, Todo. Oh, that I wanted that. I wanted it. That would be pretty cool. Other bounty hunters. Trying to think. Yeah, Black Chrysanthemum would be awesome with those brass knuckles and all that other stuff.
Going back to overproduction, I think the other the wave with the Mandalorians has been like Star Action Figures has got so many of those. They were on sale the other day. I bought a case of the Airborne and a case of
these guys.
Yep.
They were like
and the case of the red.
5, really?
What?
Yeah, crazy. So,
Insane.
but he's still got stock. So if you went on there now, you can still buy them. So he must have had a lot.
The Super Captain Commando, Super Duper Captain Commando. He's $8.99 right now on Amazon. There's a bunch of deals on Amazon right now, like the 332nd, Figrin Dan, the Super Commando Captain.
Yeah. I think they've done a lot of that wave.
My Target has a ton of the Black Series, Tika, and what's the one of those new soldiers
from Endor with the black.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
the officer.
Probably 12 or 20 of them. Who knows?
Well, that was those were the ones in Chris's. I don't know. Was it your picture, Chris, or did you just retweet somebody's tweet with all those Black Series?
That was somebody else's picture. That was from California.
Because what was it? It was the Shore Trooper. It was the Andor officer.
Anton Merrick was in there.
Tika, Anton Merrick, yeah. Yeah,
Which
Star Action Figures had Anton Merrick over here for sale for a tenner, Black Series. So,
which I thought was interesting. When people say, "Well, nobody asked for these figures," well, people are kind of asking for Anton Merrick. He didn't support it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted because I found my Embo, but I can't find his hat.
Yeah.
I don't have any Clone Wars animated figures.
No, I don't either. Apart from Bosk.
Or the Tartarovsky one.
Oh, that Bosk is a hard one, Tim.
Yeah.
It only came with the Rise of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the Bosk animated one. He's cool looking.
Yeah, it's a hard figure to get.
We need an updated Bosk, by the way. Come on.
Oh, can you imagine that figure with
Oh,
2022 articulation?
Oh yeah.
Would have been perfect for Empire anniversary, but you might have to wait another 5-10 years for that now.
Yeah.
and right, they could reuse him for the Spaceman and the Cantina and some Trandoshans down the line. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, if we could go back and rip on the 40th anniversary of Empire, you could take Lewis's soundbite there and just put it over, Bosk. That's when the Lando should have come out. Lobot, Bespin escape Leia, on and on and on.
Ugnaughts.
Yeah. Bespin guards.
Was it Victoria that asked the question about the tooling? And they said, no, we've got all the tooling of the Legacy Collection.
I think, yeah.
I not to say that they're lying, but I just don't believe that because,
I don't believe they had that speed bike.
If you're bringing out that playset, the Bespin freezing chamber, why would you not bring out an Ugnaught? Well, just why wouldn't you? It's there. It's if you've got it, why wouldn't you do that? Like that for me is like the one that they could have just finished 96, tick, done, no problem.
What's really frustrating about that is you would think the lesson was learned from the barge. When the barge backed, they should have had the Nikto Gunner Nice had, all these figures ready to go when the barge backed. Okay, hindsight's 2020, so we'll forgive him for that. It's Tim's favorite. We'll forgive him. We'll forgive him for the barge not having those figures ready. But the lesson should have been learned for the carbon freeze chamber. You need all the supporting figures to go with it. Yeah. And because the repacks, they didn't have to be mainline. They could have done multi-packs or something like that.
And I think they nailed that with the Cantina playset. They nailed that. When you think of the way that they released figures around that, they've really nailed that with the ion cannon. Gideon, the troopers. They've totally, apart from the client, who we're still waiting for. But so at the moment, the throne room set feels to me like, I'm hoping they've got something up their sleeve there for that.
Even the Death Star droid they released, like for a 2-in, get it out on that card, but it serves the purpose for the Cantina.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's hard for them to, from just a PR perspective, to tell any truth with that, right? To say, we've lost our, I don't know what you call that, intellectual property. We've completely mislocated it, or it got ruined or destroyed.
Some guy called Tungori's got it all. In his shed.
Tung Hori. He's got every figure produced with 2 left feet.
Yeah, he owes me a Mandalorian with the cape from the Razor Crest. Because when he had those before the Razor Crest came out, I ordered 2, and when it arrived, only 1 was there. So I emailed him and I said, "What's the deal?" And he said, "Oh, well, next time you do an order, you can, just let me know, and I'll make sure I have one of those for you." So I did an order.
The gimmick.
I did an order, and I messaged him and I said, "Don't forget to put the Mando in." And my order arrived and it didn't have the Mando. And at that point, you've just got to go, it's not going to happen, is it?
I
can stop fidgeting now, by the way.
There you go. He's found it.
Now I can pay attention to what's going on.
Isn't the hat a bit like Zuvio?
Yeah.
I know who we're talking about now. Yeah. He's cool. Yeah.
I gotta rewatch my Clone Wars. Apparently.
Excuse me. So we've been on for an hour and 50 minutes. So let's move on to. I don't want to miss anything that I wanted to talk about, but I know we do have. Hang on. I do have what we're looking forward to for next year to talk about quickly. But in terms of, I wanted to talk about army builder sets because that's a new expression that we've seen this year. I think the first, how many did we get? 4 or 5? just to get your which of yours is the favorite out of those? Because I know we don't like VC45, but I actually quite like those with the different heads. Because I don't really mind that sculpt so much with phase 1. I just think because they always looked a bit animated anyway, skinny legs. So I actually quite like that. But I think for me the best one is, or the one that I liked the most, was probably maybe the Rebel Fleet Troopers, actually. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, they're good.
Was the Shore Troopers this year too? Was that this year?
Oh no, yep, sorry, yeah, the Shore Troopers.
That's
So
a
that's
I've
probably
got
my
this in here, look.
Yeah,
They're
I
great.
forgot
They're
about
great.
that one. That is the best one. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I would say it's those fall very closely by the Rebel Fleet Troopers, just because it looks weird when they're all Pello Scrambus in your display, because they're unmasked, and because that figure's, even though they re-released it, they still made it very hard to acquire with the Tantive 4 playset. So so it would be the Shore Troopers. Then a very close 1B would be the Rebel Fleet Troopers.
Yeah, I would say this is up there for me too, even though this figure sucks at standing. The Echo Base Troopers, just the diversity.
Yeah, there's the peg holes on them are rubbish, aren't they? And also the peg holes for the scout, the Shore Troopers are rubbish as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible. Whenever I open up my cabinet, the Shore Troopers always go down, because sometimes I try not to use stands if I can help it. They always go.
It's cheating. I never use stands. Never use.
Yeah.
No,
Need to learn how to pose your figures.
Yeah, exactly. Well, some of them don't stand, but these are my favourites. I know I said this the other week on our live stream, but I love the face sculpts on those troopers, both the Hoth ones and the Rebel Fleet Troopers. The face sculpts are just amazing, and I think this year, I think when you look from sort of Bo-Katan wave onwards, face sculpts have just gone up a whole nother level for TVC, and I think for me that's where the quality is really improved, because they just look so much better.
Yeah, I mean, Lobot, Queel, Bib Fortuna, all of them. Bo-Katan. What's her name? The other Mandalorian.
Oscar Reeves.
Oscar Reeves. I mean, there's so many great ones. And then, customizers love these things. Customizers, a lot of them are pretty picky people who don't want, repacked or crappy figures. They'll buy these just for the heads, Pretty amazing.
So when you're looking at the head, because obviously they're going to keep doing those, because it looks like they're popular. They sell well, I think, even though they're limited to. Here's an army builder, but you can only buy 2 from Hasbro Pulse. What would you? Have you got any ideas of what would work well in those? Any of you guys?
Got to be Imperial officers. Surely this year has to be some Imperial officers. I mean, at the moment, we've all got the swivel elbow guys, haven't we, in our displays, with their hands behind their backs, probably, or at the front, because it's all you can do with them. Yeah. But,
that's how they had a Piet photoed on the back of the card.
Yeah. But I mean, they desperately need updating, and it'd be great to see some of those knocked out.
So how do you want them to execute it? Do you want just 4 grey ones with the characters from the original OT, or do you want
Yeah, I mean, you could almost put a white one in. You could put 3 greys, a black one in. Because it works. You've obviously got Endor figures as well, but I mean, again, it's Return of the Jedi anniversary. I think it's probably more likely we'd see those. But I mean, there's a whole load of Endor figures they could easily put. I think the main characters probably need to be on a card. So I would lean more towards some of those Return of the Jedi characters that wouldn't necessarily go on a card. Chief Bast, something like that. Put them in a box.
Because I was looking at Return of the Jedi, the bunker set and what have you, and what other figures that were potentially missing, and the black uniformed officers, they've got a completely different belt to like the guys in grey, completely different. So from an accuracy point of view, I'd be a bit upset if they did the black ones. They've got more silver going on, pouches and small little pouches and what have you. So as much as I say, wouldn't it be great if we had all new officer sculpt, because then they could do X, Y, Z, blah 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 blah. then you start to look at them a bit closer and like, well, that one is actually quite different to that one. But I think out of the Piet figure, you could get all of the ones in grey, the ISBs, Thrawn. When I was looking at those Endor ones, I was thinking maybe not, but
Yeah.
Yeah, give me some Ewoks and some Rebel Commandos too, please. But I don't think the Rebel Commandos will happen unless they give us the existing tooling we already have. So
I would take the Death Watch Mandalorian with the other insignia, the other stripes on it.
yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
And I thought Lewis was somehow looking at my display when he said with the arms behind the.
Mine are exactly the same. Yeah.
This for me, honestly, that Death Star briefing set to me was one of the highlights ever of being a hobby. And that was announced. It was at SDCC 2005, I think.
The Saga one.
Yeah.
2000. Yeah. So you'd be quite happy if they did that again, but with all the updated,
Yeah, I would. Of course, I'd want, the actual table too, at some point.
Yeah.
Chances of that happening? Alf Tanner said, "Hey Tim Boss, does it frustrate you when Hasbro releases exclusives at Walmart?" No, because we don't have Walmarts. So we're lucky. Over here, we are lucky that all of our reputable online retailers, it doesn't, unless it's a Pulse exclusive, then they're not happy about those because
the Amazon ones are the other ones, aren't they? Amazon we can't.
And the Amazon ones,
channels.
Yeah. It's a bit annoying when we've got to scrape around for those. And I know we're talking about the retro collection now, but the retro collection, Bosk and IG on whatever those packs were, I don't think they ever came out on Amazon UK. And if they did, it was very, very late after they'd been out for a long, long time. So I'd hate for that to ever happen with TVC. If they said Amazon TVC exclusive and then they just didn't do it for UK, that'd be terrible. That'd be back to the days of here's this amazing barge, but you can't have it unless you're in the US. So.
Losers.
All right, then, guys. So 2023 then, hopes and dreams. I know what Chris's are, more OT figures.
Well, it is the 40th anniversary of the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
When it's appropriate for PT figures, I'll be championing those. But right now, it's more. And to echo what John said, and I think it's obvious. Velkin Tazeri would be if we could get one thing, it would be that just to complete the prisoner skiff.
Please.
Yeah.
Do you remember in Roger Rabbit when you've seen that movie, right, Tim?
Yeah.
When he's hiding, and Judge Doom comes in, and he plays like the first few notes of Shave and a Haircut, and he leaves like one note, the last two notes off, and Roger Rabbit starts shaking. That's like me with the prisoner skiff. When like one figure's missing, I'm like shaking in anticipation to get it completed.
Yeah. What about you, John? Hopes and dreams? Velkin, obviously.
Yeah. Complete the skiff. Let's get some more Ewoks. Balance out the Rebel Commando with the jumpsuit Rebel Commando. Oh, I think my family's coming home. Just also, I want everything. I want everything from the first 40 minutes all the way through an Endor. What do you call it? Ewok Celebration Leia. I want so much. I want an updated Han, and obviously we already got Leia, but I'm curious to see what they do with that Han Solo. So,
what about a Lando in Han's clothes?
Well, that'd be a reason to do Han again. do Han better.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. No, he wears that at the end of Empire.
He doesn't
doesn't
have his.
He's in his general. He's in his general outfit, isn't he? Yeah.
Somebody shut Tim off. He's off base now.
I had a bit of like.
I think he just has his general.
Because you mentioned Han, and I was like, yeah, I wonder how what they're actually going to do with that Han. Do you know what I mean? That's going to be a weird one, isn't it?
Well,
will he have a poncho? Won't he have a poncho? Will he be in his as he's running out the Endor bunker and go, what have you?
But they can't use that Han to do it to the Lando anyway because they need the button collar.
Yeah,
just like the ceremonial Han should have the button collar, and it doesn't.
Details.
Just like the pockets on Figure Dan. That damn open collar on the ceremonial. Yeah.
Get Sam back.
Yeah. Lando's outfit during the Ewok celebration is a little different from his generally. I think that's what I'm thinking of, maybe. Yeah, when he's at the end there. Yeah.
The clapping Lando.
Yeah. What about you, Lewis? Hopes and dreams.
I mean, obviously, because it's the 40th, I'd like to see some of the finished 96 figures come through. I think it's a good opportunity. I'd love a Simalu, but is Simalu ever going to come out in TVC? I don't know. But, it would be nice to see some of those 96 figures ticked off. But aside from that, I mean, again, is he ever going to see him? But, it would be good to get him out there. But aside from that, I would like to see, regardless, besides what Chris was saying earlier, I would still like to see some new figures, some new media stuff, because otherwise we're just forgetting it and it just moves on. And again, it's Solo all over again. But I would like to still see some Book of Boba Fett figures, still see some Andor figures filtering through, because I don't want just to, go backwards. And, we've missed too much stuff already. I don't want to miss more.
Yeah, I as I said before, it's like when time moves on, I care less about stuff. At the time when it's fresh and new, I it's the thing that I want, and that's the problem with the amount of media that's coming out. I'm sure there's going to be lots of stuff in Mando season 3 that I think, we've got to have that. I think a lot of that could be repaint easy, different colored Mandos and what have you, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully it'll be a bit easier for them to do that. But yeah, I'm always for original trilogy, finish the 96 characters we've never had from original trilogy. But yeah, when it comes to Andor, I love the Andor show so much, but I do agree with Chris that it isn't a toyetic show. But I still want stuff from it,
The other problem with it was there was so much character development. You want so many characters. You fell in love with so many people.
We was having this conversation earlier today, actually, in one of the chats, and we were talking about March Madness, who's going to go in your top 25 bracket. And I was saying, looking back, I mean, I really wanted Tala from Obi-Wan Kenobi in her Imperial disguise, because I thought that would be a great figure. It then gives more scope to have, female officers out there. You could reuse it. And then obviously now you've got Des Ramiro from Andor. So straight away, I'm thinking, well, I don't want them both on my list because it seems a waste. So if I put Dedra on there, does it now then look like I'm no longer interested in Obi-Wan Kenobi figures? And you kind of, and this is the problem, we're always looking into the next thing, and you're always kind of already forgetting that stuff, because we know, as we say, this year we had six new figures. Me and you, Tim, had a few more because we were lucky, but 6 new figures for the year is, if that's all you're getting, then what hope have we got of getting in half of these figures that we want?
Yeah, and Lee Green there has just put 2 tubes as a must, and I think figures that have been in double things, or more than one thing, they should definitely do.
I want to clarify my point on my leeriness of new media figures. If it has a legacy, it's fine. Black Chrysanthemum has that comics legacy, absolutely. It's these ones that don't have, that only exist in that show. And if they can't come out when the show is airing, and let me get back to that in a second.
That's it. No, I agree.
If it can't come out when the show is airing, if the time has passed, the interest isn't there. Now, if they want it out when the show is airing, again, we only have 12 new tools roughly a year, give or take. if we wanted to do it properly, we'd become the retro collection where we have 2 waves. That's it. Because that would use up the entire budget for the year. So it's like, it's not that I don't want new figures. It's that it can't possibly be done properly to generate the sales right now with the budget that TVC is given.
Yeah.
See, John, would you rather have less new media but more complete sets? And this, yeah, it is a very difficult choice to make, because, as I say, when a program is on show or whatever, I'm in, you know, and I'm really enjoying it, like I was Andor, then I'm looking at it from a figure point of view as well. Like, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? And I'm so sort of wrapped up with it that when we do get something announced and then the Black Series gets again 10 or whatever, then I'm insanely jealous of it. And that's kind of like at the forefront of my thinking, that I want that, I want that, I want that. But then I take other points, like Chris's point about, you know, when I look at the most recent wave that I have with Andor and Vel, they don't go together. It is kind of like, what is the point, like, in giving me those in the first place? And that is the question that I asked on that Q&A. Like, really, what is the point of those? Because there's nothing else. But if they do build it out, then great, you know. But if we could see into the future and they say, well, you're only going to end up with, I don't know, 10 from that whole entire show, then I'll probably say don't bother. Just put the tooling
That's
budget
quite
to,
likely, to be fair.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and when you know, as I say, at the time of Obi-Wan, you know, Ned B in the Black Series annoyed me. All of the Inquisitors annoyed me. Again, Inquisitors, they have a bit of cross legacy. I know they're
Exactly.
they are realistic looking, so, you know, but, you know, at least you've got that character. So I would still want them to do the Inquisitors. And when we didn't get the Inquisitors and the retro collection did, that was really, really annoying.
Can you highlight Victoria's comment from 710? Because she hit the nail right on the head. That's part of the reason why they don't go together.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I you know, I talked to Patrick about this at MCM, and he came out of the same thing that, oh, you know, we didn't know about Baby Yoda, blah, blah, blah. But I honestly think there's only a few things that they really do keep from them, like a big reveal of Luke or Baby Yoda or whatever. You know, you do get a lot of the stuff because the Black Series have got it. So you do have it. You do know about it already. So, you know. Anyway.
But when you're saying, Tim, you know, when you're saying, you know, 10 figures, that's optimistic. Look at the slate of media coming out.
Yeah.
Look at all the new, that 10 figures would be a miracle. I might be happy with 10 figures, but
going into 2023, we've got what, 3 new shows dropping?
yeah.
Mando season 3, the Bad Batch
Ahsoka.
season 2, Ahsoka, and then the Alkalite.
Oh yeah, and the Skeleton Crew. Yeah, Skeleton Crew.
Oh,
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew.
So I mean,
So if each show got 2 figures, the tooling budget's almost
that's
gone.
it.
We're gonna get another Ahsoka, and we're gonna get another Ahsoka Deluxe.
The Skeleton Crew.
I'll take it.
The Skeleton Crew one's quite interesting, isn't it? Because the clues in the name, the crew, you know, there's going to be, it's centered around, like, from what I know about it, you know, maybe a younger type of characters or whatever.
They're tapping into that Stranger Things, I think, aren't they? With the
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
kind of,
So
you know.
100%, if you don't get all of them, you know, don't bother with any of them, I think, you know.
No.
Sorry, Alkalite is 2024. Thank you, Johnny Mustache.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Right then, guys. I think that's, we've been going for 2 hours 15 minutes. It's been awesome to have you on again. I always like chatting to you guys. Lots of different opinions. You know, and that is half the problem. We all want different things, but I think there is a bit of a collectiveness as well. So, does anybody want to add anything before we go?
I did, but I forgot what it is.
Well, we'll just finish up on, then you can try and remember. We'll just finish up on, I do want to, because you brought up about the March Madness, Lewis. So do you want us to just give your top 25 thing a plug and when that's going to start and where people can find? I know I'm going to be doing a bit about that as well. So
Yeah, I think I think John is in the process at the moment of reaching out to a lot of different sites, and I know you're all on board. I think all included. But yeah, I mean, basically, the first stage is we ask people to submit top 25 figures that they most like to see. The idea is that they are new figures. We're not looking for people to suggest repaints. We kind of want to aim at new figures. We want to trawl that information from as many places as we can, because I think the more we can get at this stage, it then feeds into the bracket later. So the idea is you put them in order. So your number one choice goes top, that gets 25 points, down to your last choice, which will get 1 point in the 25th position. So the idea is that we rank them all, and then that will give us the 64 that then go into the bracket. So last year we had a lot more people who were participating, I think, with the bracket than actually participated in the initial 25 submissions. And whilst we got some really good numbers, I think we got 400 submissions, something like that, you were getting people saying, well, how's this figure in here, or why is it, I'd rather have this. And if you don't do it now, if you don't get your top 25 in, then you're missing out on that opportunity to get those figures you want in there. And figures like Velkan Taziri made it last year, and that was, John gave that a good push. And so it's worth, if there's figures that you want to see, it's worth giving them a push, because we've got now until the end of January, we're going to be taking lists. So, but there'll be a bit more information coming out. It's going to launch on Monday, so a few days yet. Don't have to get your lists in straight away though.
Yeah, and early next year, first couple of weeks in January, I think I'm gonna, I'll have you guys on, and we can go into a bit more depth. Maybe talk about some of the characters that we want, and what have you. Give it a really good push and see if we can get a big sort of community participation in it, and then have a laugh with the bracket when it starts. Because I did enjoy that last year doing the live stream with the bracket. That was fun. Yeah.
And I mean, Evan and John, I will say they do most of the counting, and bless them, they spend a lot of the month, really counting numbers and figures, and they put a lot into it, from that side of things. So, fair play to them.
Yeah, so that's launching on Monday. You can find that on the SWTVC Instagram. Lewis, you can follow him at Space Hut, as you can see there on Instagram.
Yeah.
Does awesome photography work and what have you with vintage collection 3.75 inch figures. A few people saying we should ask for Garandan. Oh, he'd be good when he could make other figures out of him.
You could make it.
The assassin, the flute. He was in Endor as well. Did you see the one getting killed in Endor?
Yeah,
there was one in Endor. Yeah.
Just think, Tim. Just think about the card. Just think about the Garandan card on that double racetrack. I know. Oh man.
Yeah, I know.
It would look incredible. It would look absolutely incredible.
It would. So everybody get Garandan as number one in the list. Anyway, so Chris, I don't know if you remembered what you wanted to say. If you didn't, you just want to let everyone know where they can find you.
Sure, at banthaskull.com. On to John.
There you go.
Yeah, you can find me on Star Wars, the Vintage Collection Facebook group, and at the Far Side of Endor on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, to end up then, I just want to thank everybody for watching this live stream. We've still got over 200 people watching now, which is awesome. I think we peaked at like 250 or something, which is brilliant. So thanks so much to everybody for turning up and watching. Anyone that put a super chat down as well, I really appreciate that as always. I'll speak to you guys after the stream for 5 minutes. But as for everybody watching right now, we shall see you. Oh, one extra thing, actually. I do have the figure of the year on my community tab on my channel. If you haven't voted for the figure of the year, do that, because I will be making a video probably tomorrow. You'll be surprised. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
That's the one I voted for. You already know that.
There you go. So not everybody's voted for Vader, but yeah, it's interesting results, and I'll make a video about it. It'd be pretty cool. So yeah, if you haven't voted, make sure you vote for that. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next stream and on the next videos.
Thanks, Tim.
See you guys.
Thank you.